Good morning to the meeting of the Liquor Licensing Panel. If I can start, please, by introducing the attendees. I'm Councillor Janice Henwood. I'm chairman of this particular panel. If I start on my left, please.
I'm Michael Kennedy. I'm a councillor from Burgess Hill.
I'm Anne Eves, a councillor from Burgess Hill.
I'm Peter Aston from West Sussex Trading Standard Service. Good morning.
Hi, my name is Lakmini. I'm Haverseed. I'm a KK News Trading Sparks News license holder.
I'm Miss Mann from MDL Solicitors.
I'm Lucy Corrie, Assistant Director for Communities. Good morning.
John Bryant, Senior Licensing Officer.
Nathan Mountney, Legal Advisor to the panel. Thank you.
Thank you. To receive apologies for absence, I have apologies from Sussex Police and Public Health. Do I have any declarations of interest from members in respect of any matter on the agenda?
No.
No, thank you. The procedure of the licensing panel will follow in considering the application is set out in the Licensing Act 2003, its attendant regulations, and was agreed by the Licensing Committee on 2nd of February 2005. The licensing panel, in accordance with Rule 14 of the Licensing Act 2003, Hearings, Regulations 2005, decide to exclude the public from all or part of the hearing where the licensing panel considers that it is in the public interest to do so. Okay, so I have several sets of minutes to be agreed from previous meetings held on 15th of September and 22nd of September. Solicitor, can you verify these as accurate, please?
Chair can verify that they're a fair reflection. The minutes for the 15th and 22nd of September 23 are a fair reflection of what occurred then.
Thank you very much. Is this agreed by the panel? Thank you. Now, introduction of the outline of the report by Mr. Bryan, our Senior Licensing Officer, please.
Chair, thank you, members. The matter before you this morning is an application to review a premises licence. And the purpose of the report is to provide information so the panel can determine a review of a premises licence which has been submitted by West Sussex Trading Standards. The application, which is attached at Appendix 1, has been made pursuant to Section 51 of the Licensing Act 2003, made by West Sussex Trading Standards for a review of the premises licence, namely at KK News Limited, which trades as Sparks News at 56 Queen's Road, Haywards Heath. The grounds for the review relate to the licensing objectives of the prevention of crime and disorder and the protection of children from harm. It cites the sale of alcohol to a child during a test purchase operation conducted by Trading Standards on the 24th of May this year and the subsequent inquiries which were made into the incident. Two further responsible authorities, the Sussex Police and West Sussex County Council Public Health, have also submitted representations in support of the application. The panel must determine this matter on the evidence presented to it during the hearing, having due regard to the Licensing Act 2003, the licensing policy for Mid Sussex District Council and the Home Office guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act. The background to the matter is the premises concerned is at 56 Queen's Road, Haywards Heath. It's currently known as Sparks News. It's been licensed for the sale of alcohol for consumption off the premises since March 2017. The premises licence holder and DPS is Mrs. Kantasamy, who's present, and the current premises licence and conditions are attached at Appendix 2. But in brief, the licensable activity, which is authorised by the licence, is the sale by resale of alcohol every day between 6 a.m. and 8:30 p.m. The current opening hours of the store are also set out within the report. The premises operates as, in essence, a local convenience store stroke newsagent in Haywards Heath, which is situated in a mainly residential area. There are photos of the store attached at Appendix 3, which I will guide the panel through at the end of the report. There are a number of additional conditions which are currently attached to the licence, in addition to the mandatory conditions. These are set out within the report and there for the panel to see. I don't propose that there's a need to reiterate these at this time. West Sussex Trade and Standards have applied for a review of the premises licence based on the sale of alcohol to a child which took place during a test purchase operation they conducted on the 24th of May. That should read 2023, not 2024. They cite that they had previously received a report on the 30th of January 2023 that Sparks News was openly selling vapes and liquids to children in Oathall College school uniform every day after school. The report also stated that this was causing litter and antisocial behaviour for local residents. They received 3 further complaints at the end of March 2023 of the venue selling alcohol and e-cigarettes to 15 and 16-year-olds. And also within their attached bundle of evidence, they reference a visit to the premises made by Mid-Sussex District Council licensing team on the 30th of March when a programmed inspection took place. An advice letter was sent to the DPS following the inspection, which forms part of the West Sussex Trade and Standards bundle. On the 3rd of April, they completed a visit to the premises where advice was given to Mrs. Kandasamy regarding underage sales, and she was advised that test purchases would take place, and if failed, a licence review would be applied for. They also sent a follow-up letter to the premises. And as I've already made the panel aware, on the 24th of May this year, an employee at the store sold alcohol to a child. Trade and Standards comment that when they spoke to the employee, he appeared to be hard of hearing and his command of English was limited, and it did not appear to be his first language. He did seem to understand what underage sales were, but thought the volunteer was 18. They detail that Mrs. Kandasamy responded to a formal written interview request and stated that both herself and a staff member have personal licences, and she confirmed that she is the owner and responsible for the day-to-day running of the business. In the review, West Sussex Trade and Standards contend that they do not have confidence in the licensing objectives are or will be promoted by the continuation of licensable activities at the premises. They comment that despite being trained with a personal licence since 2008 and being a DPS at Sparks News since 2013, Mrs. Kandasamy had not put adequate due diligence and procedures in place until their visit in April 2023. They highlight that she left her staff untrained for years after they joined the business, allowing them to sell age-restricted products without knowledge of how to ensure children are protected from harm. The Challenge 25 policy, they comment, is a mandatory condition on the premises licence and has not been complied with. And they contend that there's been a failure of the management to promote the licensing objectives and outline the sale and supply of alcohol in the circumstances outlined as a breach of the objectives. Trade and Standards suggest to the panel that an appropriate outcome for the review would be a revocation of the premises licence, and full details of their investigation are attached to the report at Appendix 4. West Sussex County Council Public Health have submitted representations in support of the application. Their representations are attached in full at Appendix 5. And they detailed that in their representation that the sale of alcohol to children is of extreme concern, considering the strong evidence demonstrating the harms caused by it. They highlight that the premises had received an advice visit from the Mid-Sussex District Council licensing team and from a Trade and Standards officer prior to the test purchase. They also highlight, in particular, the alcohol admissions amongst under 18s within the Mid-Sussex area. Their comment is that they are disappointed that despite previous advice provided by Trade and Standards, alcohol was sold to a child, and given the serious nature of this offence and the harm caused to children, it suggests that the premises are not taking seriously their responsibility to uphold the licensing objectives. And they state that they're supportive of the recommendations from Trade and Standards with regard to the disposal of this matter. Sussex Police have also submitted representations. They're attached in full at Appendix 6. They detailed that they received a report on the 27th of March 2023 from an informant stating that her son of 15 years of age had been sold alcohol and vapes from the premises 2 days earlier. As a result of that information, a joint visit was conducted by the police and Mid-Sussex District Council licensing officers at the premises on the 30th. They detailed the observations that they found whilst on the premises in respect of the licensing inspection and issues which were raised. They are also particularly concerned that in this case alcohol was sold to a child during the test purchase exercise, and obviously prior to the exercise, advice was given with regard to the sale of age-restricted products by a number of responsible authorities. They support the review application, and their suggestion to the committee is to consider a suspension period of 3 months to be appropriate. The legal context is set out within the report, and the solicitor of the panel is available if you require any further advice in respect to Section 51 and Section 52 of the Licensing Act. I would remind the panel that the Licensing Act 2003 requires representations to address the 4 licensing objectives, which are the prevention of crime and disorder, the promotion of public safety, the prevention of a public nuisance, and the prevention of harm to children and young persons. Within the report is set out various parts of Section 182, statutory guidance of the Licensing Act, which I know the panel are well aware of, but just to draw attention to the panel of certain paragraphs. 2.34 states that licensing authorities should give considerable weight to representations about child protection matters. In addition to the responsible authority whose functions relate directly to child protection, the Director of Public Health may have access to relevant information to inform such representations. The panel will be aware of the content within the public health representation in that respect. Where a responsible authority or other person presents evidence to the licensing authority linking specific premises with harms to children, this evidence should be considered, and the licensing authority should also consider what action is appropriate to ensure this licensing objective is effectively enforced. In 11.10 of the guidance, it outlines that where authorised persons and responsible authorities have concerns about problems identified at a premises, it is good practice for them to give licence holders early warnings of their concerns and the need for improvement. And where possible, they should advise the licence or certificate holder of the steps they need to take to address those concerns. A failure by the holder to respond to such warnings is expected to lead to a decision to apply for a review. And obviously the visits that have been conducted to the premises prior to the incident are set out for the panel. The 2003 Act does provide a range of powers for the licensing authority, which it may exercise in determining a review where it considers them appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. Obviously, the first is the licensing authority may decide that it does not require to take any further steps appropriate in promoting the licensing objectives. In addition, there's nothing to prevent a licensing authority issuing an informal warning to the licence holder to recommend improvement within a particular period of time. It is expected that the licensing authorities will regard such informal warnings as an important mechanism for ensuring that the licensing objectives are effectively promoted, and the warnings would be issued in writing to the licence holder. The guidance goes on to say, though, however, where responsible authorities such as police or environmental health officers have already issued warnings requiring improvement, either orally or in writing, that have failed as part of their own stepped approach to address concerns, licensing authorities should not merely repeat this approach and should take this into account when considering what further action is appropriate. And the following steps can be taken by the licensing authority in respect to review. You're able to modify the conditions of the premises licence, which includes adding new conditions or alteration or omission of an existing condition, for example, reducing the hours of opening. Exclude a licensable activity from the scope of this licence. However, this licence only authorises the sale of alcohol for consumption off the premises, so that would be the equivalent of revoking the licence. You could remove the designated premises supervisor if you consider the problems a result of poor management, suspend the licence for a period of not exceeding 3 months, or, as mentioned, to revoke the licence. The guidance goes on to state that in deciding which of these powers to invoke, it is expected that the licensing authority should, as far as possible, seek to establish the cause or causes of the concerns that the representations identify. The remedial action taken should generally be directed at these causes and should always be no more than appropriate and proportionate response to address the causes of the concern that instigated the review. 11.23 mentions about suspensions or revocations of the licence. But it does go on to state that it would always be important that any detrimental financial impact that may result from a licensing authority's decision is appropriate and proportionate to the promotion of the licensing objectives and the prevention of illegal working, which doesn't apply in this case, in respect of illegal working. But where the premises are found to be trading irresponsibly, the licensing authority should not hesitate, where appropriate to do so, to take tough action to tackle the problems at the premises and where other measures are deemed insufficient to revoke the licence. 11.27 details that certain criminal activity should be treated particularly seriously when it occurs in premises. This includes the use of licensed premises for the illegal purchase and consumption of alcohol by minors, which impacts on the health, educational attainment, employment prospects and propensity for crime of young people. And finally, the guidance states that it's envisaged that the licensing authorities and other law enforcement agencies which are responsible authorities will use the review procedures effectively to deter such activities and crime. Where reviews arise and the licensing authority determines that the crime prevention objective is being undermined through the premises being used to further crimes, it is expected that the revocation of the licence, even in the first instance, should be seriously considered. The report then goes on to set out the financial implications and other material implications. The final decision by the panel in this matter is subject to appeal to the Magistrates' Court by any party to the proceedings. And if I briefly take the panel through the appendices, Appendix 1 is the review application from Trade Standards. Appendix 2, you'll find the current premises licence in full, together with the mandatory and conditions which are consistent with the operating schedule. Towards the end of the premises licence, you will find the premises plan, which shows the layout of the store. And then to give some context, Appendix 3, we have some photographs of the store. The first couple of photographs show the front of the store and puts into context its location. The first internal photograph of the store is the view to the left-hand side upon entering the store. And then the next one is the view to the front of the store. The panel will note that it's quite a small shop. Then the aisle to the left-hand side shows the alcohol display, both sides, with the counter to the far of the photograph. The next photograph is another one of the right-hand side showing the counter. And you can see at the back of the photograph the signage with regard to underage sales and age verification. And finally, there are close-up views of the counter and the signage regarding age verification. The following appendices, Appendix 4 is the supporting evidence supplied by Trade and Standards. We then have the representation in full from West Sussex Public Health, and finally we have the representation from the police in full. And within the representation from the police, they do ask that if the panel decide not to revoke the licence for a number of conditions to replace the current conditions which are on the licence. I can go through these conditions if the panel wish in due course, but obviously it's how the panel decides to dispose of this matter
Thank
if
you.
it becomes relevant. That is the matter before the panel this morning, and obviously I'm available to answer any questions in respect of the report the panel may have.
Thank you, Mr. Bryan. If I start with Mr. Aston, have you any questions for Mr. Bryan?
Yes, I've actually, John, could you confirm that the licence, the amended licence conditions that I sent you are included in the bundle?
On the advice from the solicitor, I did reply by email to yourself.
Yeah.
That's not currently in the bundle, but you may want to raise that with the panel during your submission.
Thank you. Ms. Kandasamy, have you any questions for Mr. Bryant? No?
No.
Thank you very much. Panel members, have you any questions for Mr. Bryant?
No.
Mr. Bryan, I have a question. Are the spirits kept behind the counter?
Yes, the spirits are kept behind the counter. The beers and wines are in a display on the left-hand aisle. The chill cabinet to the left of the aisle, and the other beers and wines, which aren't chilled, to the right-hand side.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Aston, would you like to present your documentations, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. West Sussex County Council Trading Standards have instigated a standard review of the premise licence under Section 51 of the Licensing Act 2003. We respectfully invite the Licensing Authority Committee to review the premise licence of KK News, trading as Sparks News, and determine if it is appropriate to revoke or suspend the licence, invoke specific conditions to the current licence, or remove the DPS. Trading Standards believes that this premise is undermining the licensing objectives regarding the prevention of crime and disorder and the protection of children from harm. Trading Standards' purpose for making the review application is to ensure breaches of relevant legislation are brought to the attention of the Licensing Committee in order for them to consider the matter fully and consider available options. As the committee may be aware, in October 2021, West Sussex County Council issued a press release warning businesses there would be a county-wide crackdown on underage sales following a previous test purchase operation where 9 out of 16 shops tested sold alcohol or cigarettes to children. There's been significant press coverage about the impact of our work across a wide range of media relating to many licensed premises across the county, specifically in Mid-Sussex, Air Food and Wine in Burgess Hill, K&A Enterprise Haywards Heath, whose licence was revoked, Morrison's Daily, and more recently, Londy's v Skrinstead, which received a formal warning. There's also been a number of revocations linked to underage sales, but they have also involved other criminal activity, and these have subsequently not been reported upon. Unfortunately, the sale of restricted products to children, particularly vapes, has continued, and we took the decision in January 2022 to instigate a zero tolerance policy in respect of the sale of alcohol to children. In short, this states West Sussex County Council Trading Standards as a zero tolerance to the sale of alcohol to children, and where we have sufficient evidence to show this has taken place, we will seek a review of the business's alcohol licence with the aim of having the licence suspended or revoked. The seller and business will also be subject to enforcement action in line with our published enforcement policy. And this approach will be following the business having been fully advised previously by way of a personal visit with the owner or director, and the advice followed up in writing. Unfortunately and frustratingly, intelligence reports to Trading Standards of businesses selling restricted products in Mid-Sussex and across the county to children appears to have escalated despite the efforts of Trading Standards and the police. As the committee will be aware, the illegal sales of vapes to children is of particular concern, with new evidence coming to light that exposure to chemicals found in some vapes can affect the central nervous system and brain development in children. Also, members may have seen the Panorama programme some weeks ago, which focused on the effect of vaping was having on children. In respect of this specific matter, we received the following complaints. Sparks News in Queen's Road, Haywards Heath, openly sells vapes and liquids every day to children in school uniform. When they leave the school, local school for the day, Oakmill Community College was named. The litter and unsociable behaviour this is causing has become a real issue for local residents. We have evidence that our son, who's named, who is 15, is buying vapes and alcohol from a newsagent, Sparks, 56 Queen's Road, Haywards Heath. He's been in the shop on 3 occasions on the day and bought vapes and alcohol. Other friends with him may also have also managed to purchase vapes and alcohol. We have reason to believe this is happening regularly. My son, aged 16, and his friends, aged 15 and 16 years old, regularly visit this shop to buy vapes and have also been sold alcohol there. On the 30th of March, we received a complaint, which has already been referred to by Mr. Bryant, parent stating that a 15-year-old son had been sold alcohol and vapes. Selling vapes is an offence under the Children and Families Act 2014, which makes it an offence to sell nicotine inhaling products to persons under 18. On the 3rd of April 2023, West Sussex County Council carried out an advice visit to Sparks News. It was established that the business has been run by K&K News Limited, who have been trading there for the last 2 years. Mr. Mugavivan, an employee, was advised on underage sales. Also, the owner was spoken to on the phone. The owner gave her name as Minnie, understood to be Miss Kandasamy, and provided the company information. Miss Kandasamy was given further advice on underage sales, including being signposted to the business companion website. The website provides businesses with advice on how to comply with consumer protection legislation, including the Licensing Act. Ms. Kandasamy was advised that test purchases of age-restricted products would take place, and if they sold alcohol, a licence review would be applied for. During the visit, a refusal log appeared to be in use, as well as a till prompt, and identity accepted was appropriate. However, the Challenge 25 policy was not in place. Challenge 25 posters were provided to the business. No training records were in place, but it was said that the verbal training had been completed. This is particularly concerning, as Mr. Bryant had raised this previously in his letter of the 30th. The business was advised to ensure they complete signed records of any training carried out. On the 6th of April 2023, a follow-up letter of advice on age-restricted sales was sent to Mrs. Lakmini Kandasamy, and that is in the bundle. On the 24th of May 2023, approximately 12:04 officers from West Sussex County Council visited Sparks News as part of a controlled test purchase operation. Officers witnessed an employee, who gave his name as Mr. Morgavin, sell a bottle of Blue Wickedy alcoholic drink to a child under the age of 18. This sale is contrary to Section 146 of the Licensing Act 2003. It was witnessed that the seller did not ask the volunteer for their age or ask them for any identification. Immediately after the sale, Mr. Morgavini was interviewed under caution. He was hard of hearing and his English speaking was limited, as it did not appear to be his first language. He did seem to understand that underage sales were, but thought the volunteer was 18. He showed us the till prompt and was able to provide the refusals log. The refusal log showed usage since the 3rd of the 4th, 2023, when Trading Standards conducted an advice visit, with the last entry on the 20th of May 2023. The shop had a steady flow of customers, so daily refusals would be expected, but this was not the case. Training logs could not be found. Mr. Cavani said these may be upstairs. He was apologetic and stated that he usually checks identification when selling age-restricted products. K&K News Limited Director, Miss Kandasamy, responded to a formal written interview request and stated that both herself and staff member Jeremiah had personal licences. Mrs. Kandasamy confirmed that she is the owner and responsible for the day-to-day running of the business, so she stated that she could speak on behalf of the company. The reason given for the sale was that the volunteer looked over 21 years old, but this is contrary to the mandatory licence condition to have a Challenge 25 policy. Ms. Kandasamy stated that there was a policy to read and explain about underage sales every week. This was not provided when requested during the visit on the 24th of May 23, despite the premise licence mandatory conditions that records should be readily available for inspection. Ms. Kandasamy stated that council officers gave the business the procedures for age-restricted sales, indicating that procedures had not been implemented by Ms. Kandasamy. She states that she had external and online training for age-restricted sales. The training logs provided by Ms. Kandasamy included one for Kandalasar Mogavana, who joined the 15th of the 4th, 2019. But the date of the initial training induction is stated to be the 21st of the 4th, 2023, nearly 4 years later. The training logs says it includes training on who the licence holder is and the DPS are, where the licence is, authorisation to sell alcohol, age verification and refusals log. It appears this training has been repeated on the 1st of the 6th, 2023 and the 23rd of the 6th, 2023. Another training log for G. Jeremiah was provided by Ms. Kandasamy. This states that this person joined on the 19th of the 7th, 21 and was trained on the 21st of the 4th, 2023, nearly 2 years later. And then on the 1st of the 6th, 2023, and then the 25th of the 6th, 2023, all after our visit. A signed designated premise staff authorisation form had been provided to show that Ms. Kandasamy had given advice to Mr. Mogahan and Govidapilli Jeremiah about age-restricted sales when authorising them on the 21st of the 4th, 2023, the 1st of the 6th, 2023, the 23rd of the 6th, 2023. A premise age verification policy has been provided that confirms Ms. Kandasamy is a responsible person for the business in relation to age-restricted sales and was signed on the 21st of April 2023. Further refusals logs have been provided showing it has been in use since the 24th of May 2023 until the 13th of the 6th, 2023, with various staff refusing mostly e-cigarettes sales. It states that the log is checked weekly. These logs have been signed off by Ms. Kandasamy or G. Jeremiah at the end of each page. Photographs of the tobacco notice and the Challenge 25 policy displayed at Sparks News have been provided along with photographs of the till prompt as evidence of these now being in place. Ms. Kandasamy states that DPS or personal licence holder will remain in the shop and supervise sales to prevent the sale of age-restricted products to minors. She also states that the CCTV is monitored daily now. Under Section 146 of the Licence Act, it is a criminal offence to sell alcohol to a person who is under the age of 18 years old. Ms. Kandasamy admits the offence has been committed by herself and the company, and she apologises for the sale that took place on the 24th of May. Despite being trained with a personal licence since the 25th of 6, 2008 and being a DPS at Sparks News, Ms. Kandasamy clearly had not put adequate due diligence procedures in place. Ms. Kandasamy left her staff untrained for years after they joined the business, allowing them to sell age-restricted products without knowledge of how to ensure children are protected from harm. I would also like to draw to your attention the LGA Handbook on the Licensing Act 2003, which states the primary purpose of a review is to act as a deterrent to prevent further breaches. It can also prevent any licensable activities which are causing concern from happening in future, and goes on to list a range of options open to the subcommittee to modify or add conditions, including reducing hours, change management, remove the DPS, suspend all or any of the licensable activities for up to 3 months, or revoke the licence. The purpose of prosecution is punitive, and for licensing offences, a review with the threat of revocation or suspension can often be more of a deterrent. Further reasoning in bringing this review is the Home Office revised guidance for the Licensing Act. On the protection of children from harm, this guidance makes the following points. The protection of children from harm includes the protection of children from moral, physiological and physical harm. This includes not only protecting children from the harms associated directly with alcohol consumption, but also wider harms, including vaping. Licensing authorities must also consider the need to protect children from sexual exploitation when undertaking licensing functions. The government believes that it is completely unacceptable to sell alcohol to children. Licensing authorities should give considerable weight to representations about child protection matters. Where authorised persons and responsible authorities have concerns about problems identified at premises, it is good practice for them to give licence holders early warning of their concerns and the need for improvement, and where possible they should advise the licence holder of the steps they need to take to address those concerns, which both Mr Bryant from the Licensing Authority and Trading Standards did in this case by way of visits and subsequently following up advice in writing. A failure by the holder to respond to such warning is expected to lead to a decision to apply for review. On reviews arising in connection with crime, the guidance makes these points. There is certain criminal activity that may arise in connection with licensed premises which should be treated particularly seriously. Where the use of the licensed premises for the legal purchase and consumption of alcohol by minors, which impacts on health, education, attainment, employment prospects and propensity for crime of young people. It is envisaged that the licensing authorities, the police, the Home Office and other law enforcement agencies, which are responsible authorities, will use the licence review procedures effectively to deter such activities and crime. Where reviews arise from the licensing authority determines that crime prevention objectives is being undermined through the premise being used for further crimes, it is expected that revocation of the licence, even in the first instance, should be seriously considered. In conclusion, the responsible authority do not have confidence the licensing objectives are or will be promoted by the continuation of licensing activities at these premises, and deem it both proportionate and necessary for the committee to consider a review of the premise alcohol licence, to limit further criminal activity by the licence holder, and to act as a deterrent against such illegal conduct. It is contended the sale of alcohol to an underage person in the circumstances outlined in my report is a breach of the licensing objective, the protection of children from harm, and the licensee has failed in their responsibilities to promote this licensing objective. In considering this review, the committee are reminded that the second licensing objective, the prevention of crime and disorder, which has also been failed by a commission of the criminal offence that took place on the 24th of May 2023, and previously with regards to the sale of vapes. Therefore, as underage prevention advice has been provided to the premise before they sold alcohol to our child volunteer by two responsible authorities, we respectfully suggest the committee takes the appropriate action to ensure the licensing objectives are promoted and consider all options available, including the revocation of the licence. The responsible authority believe this would send out a strong message across mid-Sussex and the county that where premises are found to be undermining the licensing objectives, particularly about child protection matters, robust sanctions are administered. As I said, we have put forward suggested new licence conditions to Mr Bryant and the licensing authority, and we would like to see these added to those suggested by the police. We would these are a slight amendment to the police, but I'll read them out to you so that you can consider that in your discussions. The premise will operate a Challenge 25 policy whereby any person attempting to buy alcohol or any other age-restricted products who appears to be under 25 will be asked for photographic ID. The premise holder shall ensure that all staff members, including family members, friends and people who are helping out on a casual or informal basis, engaged in selling alcohol or any other age-restricted product at the premises shall receive induction training. And also, no more than 2 children or young persons under 18 shall be permitted in the shop at any time unless accompanied by an adult. This is a small shop, though in my view this would there should be a limit imposed. Thank you.
Please could I ask, Mr. Aston, can we have a copy of those additional conditions? A hard copy? Have you got a hard copy?
Chair, I believe I have a copy of my correspondence, which I could show you later on.
Thank
Were
you.
they shared with all parties, John, just while we're on the subject?
Following that conversation,
Yes.
it was left as it was.
Okay,
So they haven't been shared this time, but I can certainly arrange for that to be done if necessary.
that may be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Aston. Mr. Bryan, have you any questions for Mr. Aston?
No, Chair, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Kandasamy, have you any questions for Mr. Aston? Have you any questions for him? No? No questions, thank you. Panel members, have you any questions? Yes, Councillor Eaves.
Thank you, Chair. Can I ask Mr. Aston, I'm not sure if, I expect you will know this, what is OILENS? It's in the refusal log. It looks like OILENS. And we weren't sure what that was, but it might be a handwriting thing. We've Googled it and it doesn't seem to come up. Just be a point of curiosity. And another question I have is, if we decide to revoke or suspend, which we don't know whether we're going to do yet, that only affects the alcohol, right? So can I assume that you would continue to monitor this premises for the sale of vapes? Thank you.
Yes, Councillor, you can be sure that we will monitor any premise for vapes, and we'll continue to do that. It's a considerable problem for us at the moment.
Thank you. Councillor Kennedy.
Thanks, Mr. Ashton. You said that a warning had been sent out to businesses about the fact that test purchases were going to take place. You gave a date, but I'm afraid I didn't catch it.
Was that the press? Was that the press release you referred to?
Well, there was I think you said there was a press release, but you also said there was some other form of warning. I just wondered what that was. Was it just the press release?
Yes, we sent out the press release following the that was back in 2021.
Yes.
That was the press release, and since that time, we have continued to undertake press releases. There have been a significant number of sort of press releases covering the sale of alcohol and vapes to children, and this has continued for the last, since that date. I've got a list of different sort of media and press releases that have been put out. Some of them have been put out, recently in regards to this licensing committee on Sussex Express, I think, for the last couple of also that were mentioned. So in most cases, as I said, a press release, does come out, or alternatively, as I said, some aren't reported upon, and they, because there's other criminal activity, and they've been held with the public and press excluded. So, but there's been a lot of information and press going out there. And also, every business that we visit, we obviously warn them that we will be undertaking a test purchase. And if they fail, then they will be subject to a review.
Okay, thank
Thank you.
you. Is that sufficient? Right, so we now would like to hear statements from the Mrs. Kandasamy. If you are speaking for, just make sure you speak up loudly. Please, so we can hear everything. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm here on behalf of my client to make the following representation in relation to this licensing review. There are two issues that I would like to first address the members on. First, the individual who was involved in the test purchase. As far as I'm concerned, the individual has some disability. He is hard of hearing and English is not his first language. By saying this, I'm not suggesting that he can totally undermine the licensing objective, but he does have some difficulty in understanding the instruction given by the DPS. That is not to say he does not understand that he shouldn't sell alcohol to under 18 persons, but that he failed to perform the instruction given to him. As you can see from Appendix 4, from one of the statements given by the Trading Standard Officer, statement from Elaine Sarah Lucas, she stated that the staff was able to tell that vape, alcohol, and cigarette are age-restricted products, and he did understand that these products are prohibited to selling to people who are under 18. And we would like to submit that the failure in the test purchase is not a direct failure to the. Is not a direct result of a management failure. After the visit from the Trading Standard Officer in March, end of March or early April, the DPS has spoken to all the staff to give them full instruction as to how they should deal with age-restricted product. The second point I would like to address the members on is the DPS proactive action. As soon as the Trading Standard Officer came, the DPS has rectified all the issues identified. As you can see from Appendix 6, the statement provided by West Sussex Police, they confirmed that on a further visit on the 8th of September 2023, the DPS has identified the following issue that the DPS has rectified the following issues that have been identified in the past, which I will read it out to you. A, Part A of the premises license was at the premise. B, Part B of the license was on display at the premises. C, a DPS authorization form was produced. A new member of staff who had been working at the premises for 10 days needed to be added to the authorization form. DPS aware of this. For this point, the DPS has added the new staff to the authorization form. D, age verification policy produced. Challenge 25 poster is displayed behind the till. E, the CCTV was working with the correct date and time displayed. Recording capacity is for 31 days. F, the DPS provided a self-refusal and incident logbook. And I'll be moving on to address the suggestions given by the DPS. The DPS has learned a lesson, and she is putting forward the following two suggestions. First, she will put a caution poster at the door to limit the number of children that is coming to the shop. She suggests to limit 2 under 18 children to come into the shop without any supervision of an adult. And if necessary, for example, during after school time, where the children tended to crowd outside the premises, she will instruct a door supervisor at the premises to ensure only 2 children are allowed at a time. And she will make sure a poster or a note with the above notice is displayed at the door. The second suggestion is she will also increase her supervision of the premises. That means she will go to the shop more often to supervise the staff, and she will give regular training to the staff. That is, she's going to give training every month to the staff. I noticed from the bundle, the police suggest that they would replace the existing condition, and they suggest a 3-month suspension. I'm here to put forward the mitigating factors to reduce the suspension time. First, the distance of the other supermarkets. This shop styled itself as a local convenience store, and from the public information, I can see the nearest 2 supermarkets from this shop, namely Sainsbury and Waitrose. They both are 10 minutes walk from the convenience store. So we submit, if the shop's license is suspended for a prolonged period, it will cause difficulty for people who wishes to purchase alcohol, namely is the elderly, bearing in mind the winter is around the corner. And the second mitigating circumstances that we would like to put forward is the festive season is coming up. As far as I'm aware, Diwali, which Hindus celebrate, is coming up. That is at the first week of November. And we have Christmas and Boxing Days coming up in December. If the premises license is going to be suspended for 3 months, that will lead to the 17th of January 2024, which the DPS will lose the wholesale during this busy period. And during these festive seasons, people tend to stock drinks for visitor, and this will cause inconvenience to the local people who live around, especially the store is located at a residential area. And this will also cause impact on the economic well-being of the DPS, and she might have to reduce the number of staff in the shop, and this will also lose goodwill. This will also lose goodwill of the shop, because people tend to come to buy alcohol and snacks. They are not coming for the purpose of buying some snacks, mainly. And the highest sale of the shop is drinks. The DPS suggested to reduce the license suspension period from 3 months to 1.5 months. If it is to be reduced to 1.5 months, it will take us up to the 1st of December 2023, which means she and the shop can be prepared for Christmas shopping and stocking. And we would also like to emphasize the impact given to her at this particular season. for 1.5 months is almost equal to giving her 3 months suspension on an ordinary time and seasons. In my conclusion, we submit that this is a first-time offence of this shop and the DPS, and based on the above factors, the DPS is pleading that she should be given a second chance. Therefore, she is pleading the panel for 1.5 months suspension instead of 3 months. And she has no objection to the conditions imposed by the panel. That is the condition that's suggested by the police, that is in Appendix 7. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that, have you finished? Thank you very much, okay. Right, Mr. Bryan, have you any questions for,
No, Chair, thank you.
okay, Mr. Aston, any questions?
No,
Okay, thank you. Now, panel, have you any questions?
Yes.
Councillor Kennedy.
I've got quite a few questions, but do you want to take them one at a time? First of all, you said that Miss Mann, you said that the DPS would be there all the time to supervise. Is that right?
Yes.
So in the morning, from the licence starting early in the morning at 6 o'clock through till 8:30, she'd be there all day, every day?
She is suggesting she will increase the time that she is in the premises, but that is not to say she will be there 24 hours 7 or the whole day. Compared to her supervisions given in the past, she will increase it. And just let me take a quick instruction from my client. My clients confirmed that she will be there, she'll be there between 8 to 3 every day, and the rest of the time she will be covered by her husband, who also has a license.
Thank you. The next question is, we've talked about the employee, whose name I can't really pronounce, I'm sorry, but he has hearing difficulties and also some language understanding difficulties. Is he still employed at the shop?
Yes, he is still employed. Although English is not his first language, and he has some difficulty in understanding and hearing problems as well, they can still manage to communicate by using more time than they used to communicate with a normal person, and they also use hand sign.
And just to understand how the shop operates, you mentioned the possibility, and it's been mentioned also by Mr. Ashton, of limiting the number of under 18 people to 2 in the shop at any one time. How would that be managed? How many staff are going to be in the shop? Will there be somebody at the door to stop them coming in, as well as somebody serving?
Yes, there will be staff serving inside the shop, and if the premises is too crowded, especially during the after the school time, she will instruct a door supervisor standing at the door to make sure it is only 2 students or 2 children under 18 coming into the shop.
So there'll be 2 people in the shop. Sorry. So there'll be 2 people in the shop.
3 people, including herself.
Okay, but But Ms. Kamassamy is not going to be there after 3 o'clock, you said.
Yeah, my husband is coming.
The husband is here, so it's 2 employee plus her husband.
Okay, thank you. And just a final question about the finances. You mentioned the amount of turnover in the pre-Christmas and Diwali period. Can you tell me what the annual turnover of the business is? And what percentage of that is alcohol-based?
My client confirms that she does not have an exact figure of the turnover. However, her per day sales for the alcohol is £200, and the alcohol plus other stuff like snacks or newspaper, with this together is £350 per day. So which means almost 80% of her sales come from the sales of alcohol.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yes, I have a question. Referring to the police report, it says that training records were provided. This is at the page, the top of the page of the police report, page 139. It said there was no training record for the new member of staff who had been working at the premises for 10 days. So I'm wondering, can you explain that? Is there any explanation for no training for a new member of staff? It's in the police report. It's on the top of the page, page 139.
I have a response. The staff who came, when the police came to visit the premises, the staff was not finished and hasn't finished the training yet. But by now, the staff has finished the training.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Aston, would you like to summarize, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'd just like to reiterate that trading standards do not have confidence that this premise will uphold the licensing objectives going forward. It is clear in our view that there are obvious shortcomings and shortfalls in training of staff, and these need to be fully addressed. Aside from the need to address training and procedures at the store, there must be some sanction for selling age-restricted products, particularly alcohol, to children, and we believe robust action by the committee should be taken to serve as a clear deterrent to other businesses who continue to sell alcohol and other age-restricted products to children in West Sussex. Thank you,
Thank you.
Chair.
Any more questions, panel? Otherwise, I think we now will retire to discuss. The rest of you folks, if you'll stay here, and the panel and the solicitor will retire. Is that correct?
Yes, we'll retire to discuss all the evidence that's been heard this morning. Excuse me. Now's a good time to mention just one or two points in relation to appeal. Naturally, depending upon the outcome, all parties have the right to appeal and respond. That would be the Brighton Magistrates Court, and I believe that's 21 days from receipt of the decision. The panel will do their utmost to provide you with at least a decision today. If it's just a decision, then obviously decision reasons will be confirmed in writing within 5 working days of today. So you'll have all the information to assist you in decision making moving forward from then. Nothing further from me. We will retire to deliberate. Everyone is welcome to remain. We will take whatever time we can and we'll return in due course. Thank you.
Thank you. The panel have considered the situation, and we are saying 2 months suspension from today, this to provide the premise license holder time to implement the conditions and follow the license conditions. We're also modifying the conditions as supplied by the police and amended by the trading standards and agreed by the premises holder. Right. Are there any other comments? Yes.
Thank you,
Mr.
Chair.
Martin.
That's the decision. Reasons will follow within 5 working days of today. Thank you.
Okay. I think that finishes our panel. Thank you very much.